Hello, welcome back to the Be Your Own Coach podcast.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, my name's Kathy.
My name's Liam.
Great. Well, now we've cleared that up, let's get into some content.
We are, and we're talking about an important one, I think.
Very.
Timely, as we talked last week about Christmas, end of the year, getting used to your goals, starting to think about your goals.
Soft launching.
Soft launching was
launching the goals.
correct phrase.
Yeah.
But now we're going to talk about actual goals and goal setting.
Hard launching the goals.
Posting them on Instagram. What do you mean?
There you go. It's not real unless it's posted on Instagram.
Well, there's something in that. We'll come back to that.
You've set this up, haven't you?
You might set it up last week, but I knocked it out of the park this week.
Absolutely.
Right, well, I've got my cup of tea.
I was going to say that was a slur. I hope those mics aren't that good because half of your audience just heard you swallow that cup of tea. So yes, we are talking about goal setting and December, time of year for what's next, what's coming up in 2026, which still doesn't roll off the tongue yet, that word, but never mind.
No.
So shall we start with the idea of goal setting and the identity behind the goals?
Yeah. Should we prefix it with...
Okay.
Because there's this idea, I think, that goals, people are going to just set goals. It's like a normal thing that you hit this time of year, you're going to roll into Christmas, and then you're going to set goals.
Yeah.
And I think, again, we mentioned this last week, but it's worth reiterating as part of this, that setting a goal that doesn't mean anything, or setting a goal just because you want to set a goal because everyone else is doing it, to post on your Instagram, as we referred to a second ago, just to say, the new year, new me kind of sort of setup.
Yeah.
It's going to result in failure.
100%.
And I think it's worth just prefixing that, really. So you don't have to set goals. This isn't like an expectation. It's not like a requirement. But if you are someone that is of that nature, which both me and you are, and I know many people are, it's a great time of year to stop, reset, and decide what next year looks like.
Yeah. I want to add on to that because you have just hit on something which I think is really important, which is a slight tangent, but ultimately within the same strain. That is exactly what builds resilience. So when we talk about resilience, it's not bouncing back, it's not any of that stuff. Resilience is doing something that you have set out to achieve. And that's how you build up resilience. So it's kind of like a tank, isn't it? You've built that up as an armour. And then when things don't go right, you've got the evidence of, well, I am someone who follows through with my actions. I am someone who can deliver. Yes, this might have not gone to plan. Yes, there are hurdles along the way. That doesn't crush and change my identity. That's resilience. And I think it's really important, as you said there, that people aren't just setting goals because, my mate is, or it's the time of year, because when they don't happen, because they're not a priority, which is totally fine, when they don't happen, ultimately what you're doing is you're negatively crediting or debiting, shall we say, from your resilience tank. So all you're doing is you're starting the year with evidence that you cannot achieve things you've set out to achieve.
Yeah, and you can't stick with something or follow something through or whatever it is.
So then when your day-to-day life, work, relationships, whatever, you get into those every day, every year challenges that we all have, your resilience tank is already drained because you set yourself a goal that wasn't really in alignment or congruent to who you are and your values. And you've got evidence now that you didn't need to have that you can't stick to that.
Yes, you would have been better off not setting it
100%.
than setting it and doing it half-assed in some ways.
Yeah. And I think it's important as well to mention here, just before we jump into it, a goal doesn't have to be run a marathon or become the CEO of a company or set up a whole new business. A goal can be a mindset. It could be, if you are someone who finds yourself constantly beating yourself up or constantly going into the negative or holding yourself back, or it could be mindset, it could be self-talk, it could be the narrative that you relay in your head. I'm not good at this, or I'm not the type of person. It might not be a reward, a LinkedIn I am proud to announce or I'm excited to announce. It might be, this year I want to be kinder to myself and pour into myself, and this looks like. And
I think that's the intent, and then the goals come off the back of that. Because I think what I think a lot of people get wrong about goal setting this time of year is they turn it into vision, not goals. So they come up with the air quote, the vision board, which is a whole different realm of this. But the vision board isn't the goal. So you mentioned there, like, I want to be CEO of this company. Well, unless you're in a position to get to the point of, if I set a goal to be CEO of Microsoft next year, the chances of that happening are slim to none.
Really?
Because I don't know anyone that works at Microsoft.
Oh, I don't know what I'm doing with you then.
Yeah.
That's the reason I'm here.
So again, it's separating that vision element, which I think is the whole conversation in itself. I think that's useful, but it's not. It's got to be specific, which we'll get into now as well. So yeah, should we start with then the correct goals?
Yeah, and I think
what that means.
Yeah, and I'll just bring kind of my perspective and ideas behind this. It's a goal is the action or the behaviour, or it's something maybe that's quantifiable, or it's a measurable or a metric, but it has to be in alignment with the identity. So, and maybe this comes back to what we were saying about the resilience piece. A goal is something that comes from, see it as the subset of a change in identity. So I would really encourage anyone to start now and think, right, in 2026, who am I? What kind of person am I? What are the words that come up for me? Is it driven, passionate, focused? Is it I am a runner? Is it I am a person who really invests in their health and fitness? What is it that I'm someone who's really focused on business? I'm someone who's really focused on family. Have a think about the identity that you want to shape in 2026, because then off the back of that, we can then look into the goals that marry up with that identity. But for example, if I'm saying, I really want to run a marathon, but my identity is someone who I'm not really bothered about health and fitness, well, we've got a massive, and that's a very obvious one, a massive push-pull there. Or if I've said, right, my goal is to make sure that I am getting promoted, my salary goes up, I'm going, full out career-wise, but my identity, when I'm looking into 2026, what does that look like for me? It's someone who's really family orientated, who's got a really healthy work-life fit, who is making sure that I'm really present when I'm at home. Okay, well, doesn't mean you can't.
It just means it's going to make it exceptionally difficult.
It's just going to make it a little bit more tricky, and we might have to look at that. So I think we have to start with the identity. So if anyone listening now, I would just write down straight away the answer to the question, what does my identity in 2026 look like? Who am I? And I know that's a massive question, but what are the words that come up? So it might be, for me, it's more, I want to be more at peace. I want to be more calm. I want to be more present with family and outside of work. So they're definitely the version of me that I want to become. There's then the work elements on top of that, but that's definitely where I would be going. So if anyone's listening, what does that identity, what does that 2026 you look like? The words, the phrases, the cheesy quotes that come up, whatever it is, live, laugh, love. What comes up for you when you think about that 2026 version of you? Because that's the whole. And then I think we can move into, well, what goals are associated with that person?
Okay.
Do you have any? I feel like you've got some thoughts.
It's different how I think I'd approach it.
Okay.
I think, but I'm trying to backtrack now in my brain because that one has made me think.
Sorry.
But no, yeah, it's a particular challenge this morning. Or this afternoon. I think you're right. I think I do that. It's just and again, this is the way my brain works. It's much more academic in that maybe I see the steps to get to that point before I validate that point, if that makes sense. So I'm not thinking about the end before the middle. I'm thinking about it all in one go. So for me next year, like, doing some more stuff outside of work, the flying keeps coming back up but it is the same as what you're saying. It's just that it's more about doing stuff outside of work. So
in that idea, it would be that your identity is someone who has a life outside of work, which is
that's a better way of defining it. It's just but again, I didn't jump there. I jumped to this is the way that I can get to that that ambition. So, so yeah, I think it's interesting. I'm going to take that away and roll that over a bit more.
Yeah, but okay, then, but let's flip that around. What I'm saying might not work for everyone, and so maybe you've added a brilliant element here of.
Yeah.
I'm saying this is how you do it, but yes, it might be from a coaching perspective. But if somebody's listening, thinking, no, I'd do it your way, I'd go actually. Well, what's the goal? Because I'm already a bit clearer on.
I think what you're doing though, which I think is important, and I think this is something that I've already got nailed, so it works. Is that if you don't do that, and then you say you've done a good example there, where you say, do you know what, next year I'm going to be all about health and fitness.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you say, but actually, I'm also going to set a goal to go to every KFC in the country. Okay. Real extreme example, but
Extreme or complete brilliant ambition.
But you've created two goals that are at contrast. Now, I think doing what you just described there stops you from creating goals that are at contrast to who you want to be.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I'm already a little step ahead of that, where I've already started breaking it down into we'll talk about the 4 categories in a second, and the method. I've jumped to the method basically because I'm already sure on kind of what the outcome is in that scenario. So, but I do think it's important that you make sure that your goals align to who you want to be.
Yeah.
And don't clash basically.
And maybe then it's the right time here to mention, just before we go into the method, making sure that aligns with, because we're talking about goals here, but making sure that you are not, maybe not you are not, but you're thinking about the environment you're in. So I'm going to go very basic, high-level example. Let's say I'm saying, right, this year I want to be really career-focused, and what that means, so I've got my identity as someone who's a high performer, who is really career-driven, who pours a lot into that. And again, we're talking, it might be short-term. It could be for 6 months, 12 months, whatever that might look like. And I'm saying, okay, so that's my identity. That's the person I am. I'm very passionate about this focus. What are the actions? Right, networking events. I'm going to be staying late. I'm going to be volunteering for this. I'm going to be putting myself forward for that. It will mean I'm working evenings. Brilliant, fantastic, great, this, that, and the other. And then at the moment, though, you are the one who puts the kids to bed, and you also do the clubs for the kids and sort the sandwiches out while the other half does X, Y, and Z. So there's a huge dynamic that if we don't communicate the intention, it's just not, it's going to cause issues.
That's the pipe dream. That's what we talked about earlier, I think, where that's just the pipe dream. Yeah. Where what you're going to do is you're going to run into January, you're going to do the first week, you're going to fall out with your partner, and then all of a sudden you're going to stop because
there's too much pushback.
You can't do that basically. Not even the pushback, you just physically can't do it. Yeah. It's a bit like the Microsoft example. There's no way that, if you do all them things in the evening, that you can just replace them overnight, because nothing changes in January. Yeah. We're 2 weeks away now from the new year, pretty much, broadly. And if you get to that point, nothing magically changes. No. So there isn't like this magical pivot point that you wake up on the 1st of January and all of a sudden you've got unlimited free time and all that kind of thing. So I think that's why I think dragging the goals back to reality is really important. It doesn't mean you can't be ambitious, but it means that you've basically been aware of, like you said in that example, be aware of the situation that you're in. But that's where we come down to the systems that we're going to talk about, I think.
But I do think with what you're saying, I think there's an element there of, if this person has communicated that with the people that will be affected and everyone's on board, I know we're going a very dramatic example here, everyone's on board, the systems, the processes, the day-to-day changes, everyone's in alignment, we've got a lot smoother chance. And I think that's what I'm trying to get at here is, we're talking about identity, but we're making sure that is still, for anyone in your environment who that affects directly, that we're communicating, we're having that conversation, we're sharing. Yeah. That's why, we're talking about goals here. A lot of people talk about, I don't share my goals. Well, absolutely fine. You've got different ways of doing it. But
if you're in a partnership, you got to share your goals.
You want to be sharing to ensure that you've got a cheerleader, you've got a supporter, or you've also got someone who might say, I'm fully with you. However, I'm concerned that you might have missed this angle where it'll affect X, Y, Z. So how do we work through that? So I guess that's what I'm saying is, it's about the communication piece as well.
But that's not. So I think you're right. I get what you're saying now. But it's in that example there, that doesn't become one person's goal. That's two people's goal at that point, because it's not just about communicating and saying what you're going to do. Yeah. It's about aligning to whatever your situation is. So I think that makes perfect sense. And that is one of the key parts of this. And that doesn't have to be a romantic partner. That can also be a a work partner or a boss or a colleague. You know, if you
whoever's in the environment who it affects.
exactly, so it's making sure that environment is aligned for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me the methods.
Well, I think method's a strong word here, right? But I can tell you how I do it.
Yeah.
So I separate them out into 4 categories. There's 4 categories of life: health, wealth, professional, and relationships. I used to merge professional and wealth.
Okay. I thought you were about to say I used to merge professional and relationships. I was going to say
it was all
that's concerning, but carry on.
It's all just one pot, yeah.
That's really concerning. Yeah.
And I think
HR screaming there.
Yeah. So health is the obvious one. That covers. It's not just physical health. That could be hobbies, interests. It's personal stuff basically that you want to achieve. Professional, obviously, is your work or professional life.
Yeah.
It tells itself. Wealth is money and financial.
Yeah.
If you have ambitions around that. Obviously, relationships being how do you want to show up in whatever relationship that is, romantic, parent, son, daughter, etc. Whatever it is. So that to me is the first stage. Then inside of that, I think there's a limit basically on the amount that you can do inside of each one of them. So I think for me, I'm looking for 1 to 2 major goals in there. So what I don't want to do is go, right, I'm going to start flying, learning Spanish, playing basketball, running a marathon, etc., 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 because you end up with this huge pot of stuff that you might do.
Yeah. All I'm thinking is who the hell's walking the dogs?
Well, I don't do that anyway. So, you know, picking a certain number in there that's achievable.
Yeah.
And that is where that is the fundamental part of. Then you can assess that over the whole of them and look at them and go, right, if I want to run a marathon over here, if that's one of your goals next year, but your professional one is to work a second job or whatever, or your wealth one is to earn extra income. Well, you look at that and go, well, how are you going to find 2 hours to go train 3 times a week? So you can see the bigger picture, and that should sort of bring the whole ambition into view.
Yeah.
How would you set the macro goals?
I think what you're saying is right completely, and I think that definitely works for certain people. I've got clients that do it exactly that way, and it works perfectly. For me personally, there might be people listening thinking, well, let's go back to exactly what we started with. I don't really have any, I don't really want to learn Spanish or, there's that High Rocks thing or paddle or padel or whatever. So immediately it might become for some people, what's something I can add into my life? Now there's a high chance that you're already full. Most of us modern day are already full. So the first thing I would do is, I think you're completely right in your different areas. I would go straight away into, each area. So we said health, wealth, professional, relationships. I would just add in as well, when we're talking about health, I would put in mental health. And I don't mean just in terms of mental health awareness. I mean how you speak to yourself, self-talk, how you show up, all of those elements.
Category,
Yeah, so I would go straight away to, I'd maybe have an awareness of all these categories, but my first question would be, what caused me the most discomfort this year? What made me feel uncomfortable this year? And it might be that I just get this gut thing of, I'm not earning enough. I'm uncomfortable with my finances, or it might be my health, or it might be, I just want a partner.
So what would that result in though?
Well, then at least you've got your 4, but you know straight away, if they are clashing, the thing that has caused you the most discomfort
is where you're going to focus.
Is where it's or the other way of looking at it is asking yourself, what's caused me the most discomfort this year, writing that out, and then fast forwarding to, not that we're trying to wish away life, but to December 2026, imagining you sat by the fire, mince pie, Christmas, all of that stuff, and you're reflecting on 2026. What am I really proud of? What am I really happy about? And again, I'll just go a basic example. It might be that you've said at the start of the year, what's been really not great for me this year? What's made me feel really uncomfortable this year? Well, I've been on my own a lot of the year. Okay, now let's think about other things, work, life, health. Yeah, cool. And then we go straight to 2026. Okay, let me vision what happiness would look like for me. Do you know what? It would be me, a significant other, on the sofa. Right, okay. Well, straight away, we can see that the desire, so we're using one side of the brain for that forward focus, but also the discomfort, so the facts, so we're using the other side of the brain, have both pulled towards
this one goal.
Yeah. Or it might be, your goal might have been financially, you know, I'm just not, I would have liked to have had more holidays or more free time or more whatever that might be, time with the kids. And then you look at 2026, what does that look like? I'm just really content with my family. Okay, great. So it might be the same thing because you've had this time together, because you've not been stressed about money. Maybe that caused the arguments.
Yeah.
So I think for me, it's exactly what you're saying. But in order to avoid, right, so for health, I want to run a marathon. For professional, I want a promotion. For relationships, I think I'll get married. And for financial, I think I'll try and save double my income.
Yeah.
I'd go immediately to what made me feel uncomfortable, and if I look to the future, what does that future version of me really want?
Yeah, that's valid. Yeah, without a doubt. I think it just comes down to making sure that what you put down is what you want, and you don't have to fill all 4 categories. I'm a prolific goal setter, like in the sense of quarterly, monthly, etc. So for me, it's very regimented, but that is just stage 1. Yeah. Because
can I just add, sorry, because you said there, you don't have to, you said something really important, you don't have to do each area. Now, it might be that you've decided that, do you know what, I'm going to professional's where I want to go with things, and I've got these goals, this is what I want to do, these are the actions behind it, this is what I need to do. Right, my goal for my health, do you know what, my goal for my health is to maintain where I'm at. And what does that look like? So it might look like, I'm not going to the gym 16 times a week, and I'm not drinking green smoothies and wearing Hormozy sleep tape and all of that stuff. I am just eating a balanced diet. I am going for a walk every day, getting some steps in. That could be enough.
The range of goals inside of that can be, they don't have to be extreme. They can be what we would not consider extreme.
But the only reason I mention it is that goal would never appear on Instagram.
No.
And I think we fall into the trap of, oh my God, I need to have something crazy. No, you don't. You need to have something that works in alignment to you. Yeah,
without a doubt. That's a foundational piece of this, is that this isn't about the marathon photo. We're using them examples because they're cliche.
Yeah.
It's not about the marathon photo or the gym photo shoot or the new job or whatever
the LinkedIn post.
Yeah, it's none of that. It's aligning it to what you need and want from
version of you.
A happy life.
Okay.
That's just stage 1, because that means nothing. Because if we did that with the population, everybody's going to write go to the gym. They're going to write marathon. They're going to write learn a language.
I would never write marathon.
No, you wouldn't. Yeah. No.
At all. Long walk at best. But I know what you're saying. Yeah, there's a fitness goal, there's a financial goal. Yeah.
Well, no, it's just the generics will fall in. So if you do that, you're going to fall in the generics.
Lose weight, stop smoking.
Correct.
Spend more time with family.
Yeah. Correct, because everybody wants to have these. So these are all generally outcome based.
Yeah.
So people are going to look at them and go, well, obviously I want to earn more money. Obviously I want to be able to run a marathon. Obviously I want to be able to lift a certain weight in the gym, whatever it is, right? So then basically you have to then start breaking these down into micro goals.
Okay.
So, let's use the marathon's an easy example. Okay, so we'll use that because it's simple. If you say you're going to do a marathon, right? Okay, how much where are you at the moment?
Yeah.
And what's your starting point? What's your starting point, and what's the distance to that goal? So if you've never run a 5K before, well, goal 1 is to run a 5K.
Yeah.
And goal 2 is to run 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 all the way up to 44.
Yeah, wrong person to ask.
Something like that.
Not a clue.
And then that starts to reveal what are the building blocks of that goal. Yeah. Because if you don't have the building blocks, you're going to cram too much into the year or not put enough into the year. So if I set a goal that, I want to run a marathon, but last year I ran 2 ultras. Well, the distance to that goal is probably quite small.
Yeah.
Arguably, actually, it's probably as hard to stop if you're doing that much running.
Yeah.
So so that's the takeaway element. But you see the point that it's about creating them sort of building blocks so that you can start to see what's involved.
Yeah.
Because only then will you be able to start putting that into an actionable plan.
Yeah.
To go, that's going to work, which is where the conversations, which we'll get into in a second, come into with your partner or whoever it is around you to say, right, I'm going to run a marathon this year. This is what I want to do. And actually, it's going to mean that for 4 hours every week for the first half of the year, I'm going to have to train.
Yeah.
And where are them 4 hours coming from? So you're setting yourself up there for success rather than just saying, I'm going to run a marathon and I'll deal with the training in January.
Yeah.
Because then you get to the first week in January and it all crumbles down, right?
Yeah.
So for me, I think that is, the first bit's great. That's your vision goal, your macro goal. But your micro goal is where the real value is. So that by the end of January, you're running a 5K. By the end of February, you're running a 10K, whatever it is. You know.
So that's saying, have your goal and then going, okay, so what does that look like? What does that mean? Yeah. So, and I would say, I know we're using the marathon idea, but the phrase straight away that comes to me is, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So for example, if we're saying, right, professionally, I want to really put myself out there, I would, well, what could you do? I'd write a list down of all the things. I could go to networking events, I could join some groups, I could look for a mentor, I could do all, right, brilliant, we've got all of these things. And then what a lot of people do is go, fantastic, I'll do all of those things in January. Let me just get my calendar up or Eventbrite and what's every networking event I can go to. And by the third or fourth, one, it's absolutely exhausting. And two, you've completely lost the passion because we're treating it as this sprint.
Yeah.
So I think as you're saying there, your macro micro goals to break it down need to be, okay, what does that look like realistically that I'll enjoy it, that I don't need to, sit at home rocking thinking, oh God, I've got to do this. What's going to feel the path of least resistance?
Yeah. So it's almost like macro, micro plan.
Yeah.
And if you do it in that order, you can either have the best chance of success because, again, macro goal, I want to become the CEO of Microsoft. Well, micro goal, hang on a sec.
Yeah.
Can't find a way to do that. So this is pointless. And this is where basically probably our brains kick in slightly differently. This is where I jump to straight away, which is a very practical breakdown. And actually, what I'm actually answering is what you said at the start was, when I break it down into all of these elements, does that actually serve the person that I want to be?
Yes.
So with the marathon example, if I break it down into micro goals and go, right, I need to dedicate 4 hours a week, whatever the number is, over the next 6 months to running this, to get this marathon. Yeah. Is that the person that I want to be? And it's interesting how we've come back to the same conclusion, just at different angles there. Yeah. Because sometimes, historically in my life, I would have gone, no, I don't want to give 4 hours a week to, because that goal doesn't have that value to me. Yeah. The trade isn't worth the reward. Yeah. If I can snap my fingers and do that tomorrow, great, of course I will. Yeah. But if it's going to take all of this, it's not enough for me to justify the input-output.
I'd add in as well, and maybe this is completely anecdotal and maybe a bit exposing, and I think you'll know exactly where I'm going to go with this. The identity doesn't mean it's everything, and this is where you know full well that I am throw everything in the kitchen sink into something. So yoga, for example. So I've really wanted to start yoga for stretching, for relaxation, to tap into some kind of spirituality, just to broaden horizons. So I decided to go on a retreat and then book everything, and then the next week I decided that I wanted.
We're about to turn the house into a studio.
I was off to Bali for at least 4 months, and I think I was wearing hemp and of downward dog all the way through the house. Yeah, so. And I do have a habit of going absolutely all in. Can you remember when I swimming and then I bought the flippers? And
still in the back of the car.
Still in the back of the car, yes. So the back of my car is a graveyard of all these sprint hobbies that I've had, really. There's a CrossFit bag, running trainers. I bought them, didn't I? Mm-hmm. That was daft. I mean, CrossFit we kept with for a bit. We've got yoga stuff. We've got flippers. We've got a wetsuit.
The wetsuit.
We've got wetsuits. Yeah. So anyway, I think that what I'm trying to get at is identity doesn't mean I do it every single night or I do this thing every single day and it is my whole identity. No, our identities are multifaceted. So if you do something once a week, or if you are pushing in one direction by moving the needle 2%, 3%, that is forming part of your identity. It doesn't mean, you need to change your whole life and it needs to be everything.
No. Yeah.
And I think it's just important maybe for me to say
there'll be a lot of people, but there's a lot of people in January that will do that.
And that's exactly where I want to go with it, because that's why goals die, because we sign up and it's too much.
Yeah, I mean, the gym's a great example of that. We're going to see a lot of people go into the gym in January for the first time, and they're going to post all their workouts on, again, social media is the killer for this, I think, across the board. And we'll come to my social media comment earlier in a second, but they're going to post their workouts on there. They're going to be what they want to be before they are it. And then what tends to happen, there's a few people that will make that through and it will stick, and that's wonderful. But there's most of them will hit the middle of January and go, this isn't who I am.
Yeah.
So now it's
because
too
I've
much
given
effort.
up. I've given up all of these other parts of my life, my personality, and it's too,
it's too much effort to continue the pretense of it effectively. And I think that's where goals come to die. What is it, the second week in January or whenever it is, when when the New Year's resolutions fade out, and that's not something to be celebrated. I think it's mocked almost, and because that happens, the act of setting goals at New Year is mocked. Yeah. So it's not cool. It's not trendy. LinkedIn's seeing this world of we mock people that do this now, and
it's just
I think that's happening because of the sort of the good intent but poor preparation that people have put into it, because they're doing things that don't align with who they are. So going back to the very first thing you said, if the gym's a simple example again, but if you do that, then you've got to make sure that you want to get up and go to the gym at this time, that it's not going to affect your relationship. Yeah. It's not going to affect, if all your friends go out and you're doing the KFC tour of the UK, they don't align very well. So we're back at the alignment point again of you. But I do want to mention the Instagram thing I keep referring to, is that I think that there's two trains of thoughts when it comes to goals and sharing them. Okay. Now, we're not talking about the significant other or someone around you that is directly affected by the goals. I think that's a foundation to making it work. If I wanted to go on the KFC tour of the UK, then I'd need to let you know that I'm going to be busy for a number of days over the next few months.
And here's the load of Rennies. Good luck.
And if KFC do want to sponsor this podcast, please let us know.
I've got a different list.
That was a good pitch, wasn't it? I've completely lost what I was talking about. Right. So the social media thing. So there's two trains of thoughts. The first is that if you set a goal and share it publicly, which I think today means social media, that you are going to stick to it because it is public. And when I see you in the pub next time, you'll be like, oh, how's the marathon training going? Okay. So there's like an external
accountability
pressure
as well. Yeah.
The second train of thought, which I think is the one that is most air quote proven, or is the one that seems to happen the most, is that when you share that, you are gaining most of the reward for that activity. So if I said to you, I'm going to run a marathon this year, you go, oh, that's amazing. And I go, that feels really good. Yeah. I haven't done anything. I've just told you I'm going to do something. So I've got all of the reward and none of the pain. So when it comes to actually doing the actual training, which is painful,
and on your own,
I just go, oh, I don't need to do this.
Okay, yeah.
Because I've been given the reward. So again, there's two very interesting trains of thought. I'm not kept up to where, it's a few years since I've looked at that. Yeah. To see where the actual science has landed. But they're two different directions to consider on whether you do or don't share your goals. You've got to make sure that if you do share them publicly, that that isn't. So again, if I went onto Instagram now and put a picture of my running shoes and said, going to run an ultra marathon next year, you can imagine what's going to happen. This is amazing, yada yada. Yeah. Go.
But doesn't this come back to identity? Because if you are someone who's a runner, it doesn't matter if someone's going, oh my God, you're amazing. But if I'm just doing it because it's a goal, because
that's
I want to...
That's the point I'm making. Okay, so you're trying to basically tell people you're going to do something.
Virtue signalling something that isn't in alignment with who you are.
Yeah, and I think that is one of the dangers. But then, equally, I could go on there and go, do you know what? I've never ran before. I'm going to run a marathon this year. Is there anybody that wants to run with me? Yeah. There's two sides of that coin, isn't there? So one where I go, do you know what? I find out that all the people I work with are all big runners and they have a regular 5K on a Sunday, and I go be part of it, and that helps me achieve my goal. So it's being aware of the actions you're taking and making sure it aligns to who you are. Yeah.
Okay, I think just to kind of draw everything to a bit of a close with goals. So we're saying we break it down from your macro to your kind of micro goals. We have to have some form of accountability along the way, so some goalposts along the way that we're working towards. I would really add in as well, because we have more stuck on these goals that are a bit more action focused, such as job, title, promotion, gym, fitness, health, whatever that might be. But if we're looking at like your mindset goals, and maybe you've got an unhealthy relationship with how you speak to yourself or you hold yourself back, how do we measure that? And this is where I think it's all right saying, you know, we've got a bit of time off over Christmas, I'll write down what I'm going to do and how I'm going to achieve it and this, that and the other, and I'll journal this, that and the other. Great. Again, journaling. Everyone talks, I'll journal, right? If that's a different habit than what you're used to, there's going to be a bit of resistance. So my straight away idea would be, what do you do every week, let's say, without fail, that you could habit stack something on? So as I always say, Friday, what do you do every Friday evening? So, or whatever day you're in the office, if you're in the office, where's your commute? Where are you religiously every single week on the train or driving for 15 minutes? And it might be, well, every Wednesday the kids go to so-and-so and I've dropped them off and I'm driving on my own for this amount of time. Okay, so let's layer on there. That is your reflection time. Time for you to go, okay, this week, I'm really proud of how I've dealt with this and this. This hasn't gone so well. Oh, I wonder why that didn't go well. Okay, well, maybe, you know, what were the factors? I was tired, I was hungry, hormonal, or I've got a lot going on and I'm not managing that stress. Okay, so what can I do about that going forward? So you're taking the time, a bit like looking at your marathon log and going, oh, I didn't get that split. What do I need to do? But this and the other.
Yeah, so you're analysing the data.
You're analysing the data that maybe isn't on an app or your manager's giving you your KPI feedback or whatever. It's putting in that reflection time every single week so you can measure how you're showing up. Because if your goal isn't quantifiable in terms of a medal or a status,
time or weight or whatever,
then there has to be something you can do to sit down and reflect. And it might be bringing your partner, loved ones, families, friends into the mix as well and saying, oh, do you mind if how am I getting on? Have you noticed a change here? Have you noticed I've dealt with anything different? Let's get a bit of feedback. So bringing people in on the journey, I think is really important as well.
I think you're spot on. And I think then the final bit for me to add to that is that momentum will come from, there'll be that initial enthusiasm. And that will disappear, and that's where your habits will come in, like you said there. So it's connecting them dots, and we've talked about that historically, that motivation and discipline and how they interact. But it's making sure that the fundamental of all of this is just making sure that that goal, whatever it is, aligns with either who you are or who you want to be. And if you do that, the rest of it is just a system. But that is the fundamental, I think, that I see people get wrong, and I've got wrong historically as well.
Same. I think we all have, haven't we? But that's it. It's again, I sound like a completely broken record. You know, I identify as someone who cares about my health. So what does that mean for me? Let's go basic. It means that I will brush my teeth to look after my oral hygiene. Does that require motivation? No, because it's part of who I am. That's it. It's an identity. The gym, does it require motivation? Yes, but I still go even when I'm not motivated because it's just who I am. You know, if we didn't go to work when we weren't motivated, that's probably, probably not a lot of people going to be working every single day. You're probably going to be laid off after a while. But you still go, why? Because I'm a person that provides for myself, for my family. I'm a person that has to pay my rent, my mortgage, whatever that might mean. So it's coming back to, yes, you're not always going to feel motivated. But if you can go, okay, I really don't want to do this, but what kind of person am I? Am I someone who does this? Is this my identity? If it is, then it just gives you a little bit more of a, okay, doesn't mean you're going to be singing, dancing, cartwheeling to whatever it is, but it does mean that you know why you're going because it's the person who you are. And then at the end of the day, you can look in the mirror and go, that's resilience. Again, it's pulling back to resilience. It's going, I can do difficult things. I can push out my comfort zone. And I think that's it, isn't it? Maybe that's the final bit to kind of look at is when it gets difficult, it will get difficult. Imagine, let's go back or forward to December 2026 and you're reflecting on the year you've had and what you've achieved. You're proud of the person that you have become. You're proud of the actions, the behaviours you've taken. Take a moment to sit in that and think, right, that's what I'm working towards. Because if we can feel what that'll feel like, there's the motivation if we need it. Okay.
Perfect. Well, good luck with your goals.
Yes, let us know.
You set them.
Let us know.
Please do let us know if you set them.
Please let us know goals.
But if you want to share them, feel free.
Yes. Love to know.
Do let us know.
Also, if you've got, again, I maybe looked at it from one perspective.
Yeah, of course.
You
we'd
definitely
love
look
to.
at things a little bit more granular.
The way that I've changed my goal setting since we've met has changed dramatically.
Well, and vice versa. I'd never looked at it and broken it down into
Yeah.
categories. Mine was a kitchen sinking. So if you've got a different way of doing it,
Yeah, let's share because
Yeah.
if it's there's always a different way of skinning the cat as such.
yeah. And just remember, if you set off on your goals and the destination changes, not a problem. Just correct
Yeah,
course.
that's
do
it. It's just a direction. It's just a direction that's going to
just a
happen. And we'll talk about this probably in mid-January. I think when we're going to see the inevitable slope off, and then also how to maybe correct that and how it's not a bad thing. And
Yeah,
you
if
know,
it's
I
not
think
serving
we
you,
don't-
get rid of it.
Exactly. We don't want to beat you up because you've not achieved something in terms of a goal. You might find out and get more information along the way. We're always changing. We're always growing. So that's really important.
Yeah.
But on that bombshell, I am going to say as well, Kathy does have a newsletter.
Oh, she's got a newsletter. Well, I was actually going to add the newsletter next week, so after we've put this out, will have a PDF attached, loads of different questions for PDF that I'm going to write myself.
Wowza.
I know. Technology 101.
That's good.
With loads of questions about identity, goals, and then the actions you can take, how to correct course, loads of questions on there for you to kind of fill in and play around with. So if you would like a copy, sign up to the newsletter. You don't get spam. You'll get a weekly email of me trying to be funny. Just humour it. Delete it if you want to.
But you can sign up and get the PDF. So that is a reason to sign up.
Yeah. And then, I mean, you could then...
And then you can stay around for the comedy afterwards.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to say you could also just unsubscribe, but that's probably not the best marketing I've ever done.
So yeah, go on the website, beyourowncoach.com, sign up to the newsletter, and also if you are listening to this on Spotify or watching our faces on the big telly, which I know a few people did last week, which is wonderful, please hit the subscribe button because it does help.
Yeah, and hopefully it's not 4K or HD, because
it will be 4K this week.
Oh, that's really intense, isn't it, on a big screen?
Ultra HD.
Right,
soon.
I need to get some better makeup. Right, on that note,
have
a lovely Christmas.
A wonderful
We won't see you before Christmas. Have a wonderful Christmas. Have a wonderful New Year. We'll probably put something out in the
middle.
In the middle.
In that weird time that no man's land.
Feliz Navidad.
Right, get out of here.
Goodbye.
Have a wonderful week. Goodbye, everybody.